Hello, everybody. This is Corey Funk for Funk's Film Reviews. I just recently finished the all of the 1990s lists. Now I'm starting with my first of the best, my favorite film of the year 2000. Starting the first film of the new century, the new millennium. First film of that. And the movie that I picked for my favorite film of the year 2000 was a Coen Brothers film starring George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, John Turturro, John Goodman, Holly Hunter. That's a pretty much, well, there's more too, but I can't remember all. Oh yeah, Stephen Root is in there too. He plays the record producer guy. And this movie is basically, it is an adaptation of an old book called The Odyssey by Homer, and but they base it in the Jim Crow South. They are a bunch of guys that escaped prison and all that. They're running, and George Clooney's character Everett is trying to get back to his family, but he told the other two guys a lie that he knows where there's some treasure, so they're following him. And they encounter a blind guy on a mine. They encounter with John Goodman's character, the Cyclops. They encounter a guitarist by the name of Tommy Johnson who was trying to sell his soul to the devil, and that's when they get to the record company area and they produce that song Man of Constant Sorrow. And yeah, it's like the three main characters and all that. The George Clooney portrays Ulysses Everett McGill. Tim Blake Nelson portrays Delmar O'Donnell, and John Turturro plays Pete. And yeah, this Holly Hunter is the wife that George Clooney's trying to get to with the family and all that. And they encounter all kinds of crazy things. They encounter some sirens. Tim Blake Nelson's character has a baptism. But there's a lot of humor in this movie, too. Like, it deals with the Jim Crow South and all that. But, like, there's a lot of, the George Nelson character where he's like, I hate cows more than I hate coppers. Like, oh, no, George, not the livestock. Like, and I like a lot of Coen Brothers movies. I love The Big Lebowski. I love Fargo. I loved No Country for Old Men and Barton Fink. They had a lot of amazing movies. But I'm the rarity. I'm the rarity here. Most people will either say Fargo. They'll either say one of three movies. They'll either say Fargo, they'll either say The Big Lebowski, or they'll say No Country for Old Men. But I like Oh Brother Art Thou. That is my favorite Coen Brothers movie. And I like the soundtrack they used for it. I liked the story. The cinematography was fantastic. I think George Clooney should have been nominated for an Oscar. He did end up winning at the Golden Globes for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, but it only received 2 Oscar nominations. It received Best Adapted Screenplay and Cinematography. It lost out Adapted Screenplay to Traffic, and it lost out to Cinematography for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Both really good movies, but Oh Brother Art Thou still ended up being my favorite movie of the year 2000. It was actually not a bad year for movies either. You had Gladiator, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Almost Famous, High Fidelity, Shadow of the Vampire. There was a lot of really good movies that came out. Oh yeah, The Tao of Steve. Not many people heard of that one, but that's a great one. That would have been in my top 5. But yeah, I do recommend Oh Brother Where Art Thou. It's got some really funny moments, and I love the part where they thought that John Turturro's character Pete turned in. He's like, they turned him into a horny toad, and for some reason Delmar's not really that bright and all that. And I highly recommend, especially if you're a Coen Brothers. If you like the Coen Brothers, you'll probably like Oh Brother Where Art Thou. It has its type of humor in that movie. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. They brought an old book there, like I said, Homer the Odyssey, and they brought it into a whole different era, the Jim Crow era. And it's funny, the one scene they're trying to save their their black guitarist friend Tommy Johnson, and they disguise themselves as KKK members. And the Grand Dragon is, if you read Homer's The Odyssey, basically it's their interpretation of when they meet the dragon. So they use the KKK as a reference, and the KKK has a character like the big kahuna in that they call the Grand Dragon. And George Clooney does really good in this, and so does, like, the chemistry between all three of them. George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro was fantastic. And their side characters are fantastic too. Like, John Goodman was fantastic, and he was only in it for a short time. And yeah, Stephen Root as the record guy who's blind. Yeah, it's a great movie. I recommend Oh Brother Where Art Thou. And if you haven't seen it, it's directed by Joel Coen, and it's written by the Coen brothers, and it's a double gold to me. I truly love Oh Brother Where Art Thou. My name is Corey Funk, and this has been Funk's Film Reviews, and this was my favorite film of the year 2000.